All right. Hello there. Welcome to Lesson 17, CSS Classes. This is for Unit 2 of Computer Science Discoveries. If you're already middle school, it's 7th graders. If you're somewhere else in the United States, which I never realized that anybody else would watch my videos. But it might be some other grade level, or maybe you're just trying to learn how to teach this stuff because it can be a little bit perplexing. I want to thank code.org. I don't know if I've ever thanked them before, but I do want to thank code.org for all of the awesome material that they put out, their willingness to make changes, their willingness to help out. It's just amazing. I won't go into that right now. Maybe I'll make a separate video talking about how awesome code.org is. But anyway, question of the day. How can we create different styles for the same type of element? So this lesson is going to introduce CSS classes, which allow web developers to treat groups of elements they want styled differently than other elements of the same type. So H1, you have like 3 H1s and you don't want them all to be blue, you can change them to blue, green, and orange. If you want your paragraphs to be different, or if you want your image borders to be different, if you want anything to be different for like, well, you'll see. A CSS class is an identifier that allows multiple elements in the same HTML document to be styled the same way and makes them able to be styled differently as well. And you'll see what I'm talking about when we press continue. So here's a sample website. Take a look at this. Now notice Andrew's reading list of great speeches. So in here, the I Have a Dream speech, everything about it is the same color. But where that's different is it's everything with the JFK inaugural address is orange. And then we got Abraham Lincoln's speech purple. So whereas all of these are green in this area for I Have a Dream, it is different from what can you do for your country versus the House Divided speech. So they're all the same in each class, but they're different from each other. And isn't that nice? That can really make a website look more and be easier to look at. All right, so now we're going to click continue. I'm going to start looking at these classes. All right. So this waterfall page uses classes to make the images on the top of the page a different style from the images in the main part of the page. Okay, so look. These are all small little versus these giant pictures. Now that's all done with classes. I'm going to show you right here. You remember how way back in lesson 9 we added images? Okay, IMG, SRC dog jumping, and we got these. Now in this lesson we have IMG, and then we have a class for these 4 images. Okay, they are small. And then they put in the images. Class is not done on these larger ones. Oh, there is. Look. I don't know what I was looking at just a second ago. Like, wait. Class is here. It's a main image. They're all the large ones. Okay, now we don't just add class. Look at main -image. Let's look at the style page now. We got top images. Oh, look. Anything that's given the class top image has 50 pixels, border radius 5 pixels, margin 10. The main images are down here. Any of those with the class main image, let's look at the index.html, main image, they are larger, first of all. Width 20 pixels, float left, margin right, and the border radius is 20 pixels. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? And those pictures are those images are uniform as well. Okay, they've not been given a color, but so we need to really look at this. We didn't have that back at lesson 9 for the cat and the dog. All we had was index anyway. But now we're adding in class. Okay, I'm going to do this. Find the CSS rule set in the style.css that makes the images at the top smaller than the ones in the main part of the page. Okay, top, main. Add a new rule to one of the classes to check and see that that only affects images in that class. What should we do? What if we just change the border radius to 200 on the top picks? 50 instead of. So see how that changed? Let's check and see if 50, it made them all rounder. Now let's look down here. It didn't change those at all. So it only made them rounder. Okay. Margin, let's change the margin to 100. Uh-oh, now they're all messed up. Okay. The margin is how much space is in between them. So that only affects the top images. Now, if we do something crazy to these, if we change the main images to the right, what happens down here? Oh, they all move to the right. Look at that. Remember, they were on the left before. So this is all done with class, and we're going to have some practice messing with class today in this lesson. But I just want to make sure that you guys understand that there is a difference now, and that first difference is that we add class to where we're coding. Okay, it's not just images either. I'm going to click finish. I'm not going to keep working. I'm going to move on. We didn't add a new rule set. We should probably add a new rule set. Okay, so let's just add a new rule set to the top ones. We'll say border color colon added black. Colon, there we go. So now we can change. We didn't even add a border color. Anyway, now we can move on. Okay. The 4 humors. All right. So this page describes the 4 humors, but only one of them is styled with a special class. Do this. Look through the code and see how Sanguine class works. Let's do that first. Okay, so style.css, we have image Sanguine. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I'm sorry, ELA teachers or whoever else might know this better than I do. So we have solid, the border is solid, 3 pixels. Border color dark red, color dark red, font family cursive. Let's go down to that. Look at that, dark red. It's all given to Sanguine. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing, but for the other humors. Okay, and let's see how that's working. So Sanguine, link style sheet, we got that. Image, class, Sanguine, src equals Sanguine PNG. Okay, so we got Sanguine PNG. So we're going to be doing the same thing with img choleric. So we saw how it works. We looked at how it works. Now we need to add the class and rule set in the style.css and add elements to the class in index.html. So what are the four humors? Sanguine, choleric, melancholic, and phlegmatic. All right. So let's start with choleric. Okay. Comes from having too much yellow bile, but that doesn't really matter. What matters is that we are at choleric. Okay, we're going to use what we had before. Oh, look at this. We're adding classes to every single one of the elements here. So the paragraph gets a class, the H2 gets a class, and the sanguine. So let's take a look at that real quick. I want to show it so you can see it all in one line. H2 space class sanguine. Make sure you put the greater than symbol there to separate it. And then you say H2. All right. So that's in the sanguine. We're going to do the same thing with the choleric. So let's move this up so we can see it first of all. And then we're going to add that. All right. So I've added all of my my other rules. So I want to make sure that you guys see that I go up and check. Okay, we have sanguine. Sanguine img class, img space class equals choleric, img class equals sanguine. What I'm looking for is to make sure I have my pattern correctly done. H2 space class sanguine, H2 space class choleric, period or paragraph space class equals choleric. Okay, so I have it for my H2, my paragraph. Then I'm going to go down here. I have it for my image, class equals melancholic, H2 class equals melancholic, paragraph class equals melancholic. All right, see the pattern? Image space class equals phlegmatic, H2 space class equals phlegmatic, paragraph space class equals phlegmatic. Okay, so we have that. Now, the next part is to add the rule sets for the style sheet. So we have the pattern going well. Okay, if you needed to pause, you should pause that and look at it. Okay, now let's look at the style sheet. Okay, we have sanguine, blah, 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 cursive. Okay, now we're going to change that. We're going to not change that. We're going to make sure we add some. So we're styling the other three types of humors. Okay, so pay close attention to that. So now that I've added one, so we have choleric, sanguine. Look at that, choleric looks the same. So we're doing this on the right, we're on the right path here. Okay. All right. So far I have my sanguine, my choleric, my melancholic, and my phlegmatic. So I look at all these and look, they're all done correctly. I typed them in right. The key is that the phlegmatic or the choleric or the melancholic or whatever, that they match the spelling of right here. If you got a word wrong, it's not going to show up. If you got one letter wrong, it's not going to show up. Now I want them all different, and I'm going to add a different color to them. So dark red for sanguine, choleric. How about orange? Okay, what does it say? Maybe it's not going to be orange. Let's take a look at what it says for a color. I'm going to match it. Too much yellow. So let's go with a yellow green. Okay, and we'll do the same thing here. Okay, take a look, and there it is. All right, melancholic. Does it say black bio? Well, then let's use black. And that, checking it. Good, colors there. And what do we have here for phlegmatic? Too much phlegm. Ooh, it's associated with the lungs and the water element. So we could go with the lungs are pink. I'm gonna go with deep pink just because it's cute. Better than regular pink, I guess. And we look down there. Look at that. So there are our lesson 17, number 4. There's all of our classes. We added classes in the index, like P class equals phlegmatic, and then make sure you have that greater than sign and then go on. So we're just changing the beginning of every one of our elements. And then we added 4 different 4 different classes, and we for choleric, sanguine, and melancholic, and phlegmatic. And then we made some changes to the styling there. So that's what we have so far. I'm going to pause real quick. If you need to go back and watch any of the video, I'm going to pause and go do a meeting. So we'll catch you later. So now that we have the phlegmatic pink, black for melancholic, choleric as green, or whatever color you guys chose for any of these, and sanguine as red, we are ready to move on because we've added the elements to the class in the index. We added the class and rule set in the style.css. So we can click finish. So next we have months of the year. We have 2 things to choose from. We'll do months of the year, letter A first, and then we'll do letter B. So with this one, we have, it's definitely linked. We have no classes. What does it say? This page lists information for different months of the year. Do this, create a class for your favorite month so that it looks different from the others. Use at least 3 properties in the CSS rule set. So we have all the months here, and we're going to choose, I'm going to choose April because that's when good things happen. You know, it's the first full month of spring, that sort of thing. We're going to choose that one. So for April, I'm going to put in here after the H2 class equals, in quotes, my hyphen month, quote, quotation, and now we have a class for the month. Then we're going to do that same thing. I'm just going to copy and paste this into the paragraph. Control C, Control V, and have that. Oh, we need a space there after the P. So that's what we have. Then we go to style.css. We're going to add a new class. What do we call this? We're going to call it my month, my hyphen month. But we got to put a period there. My month. Now we put the squiggle, enter, and whatever you're going to put in there for your month class, just, let's see, we'll go with We went with, I just went ahead and typed it in. Color purple, font size 30 pixels, and font family sans serif. Let's look at April and look how different that is. It's different from the rest. We made sure that our rule set is in here for my month. In the style sheet, we go back and we make sure that my month has a class of its own in the H2 in the paragraph. That's all there is. And that's the only thing we have to do in that page. So way to go. Nice work. Check those. Make sure yours looks different. Doesn't have to be purple. You can change whatever color you want to. And doesn't have to be that font or that size. Let's click finish and move on. All right, so now we're on letter B. We're going to debug this. Let's click on B. We can debug the class. This page has a separate class for each of the 4 seasons, but the autumn class isn't working. Do this. Find the bug in the autumn class and fix the code so that the class makes the text a dark red. So autumn, probably at the bottom. Look at that. It's just plain black. So that's all we got to do is find the bug for autumn and change it. So I'm going to go down to autumn. We got class H2 autumn, class H2 autumn. I'm going to check in the style.css. Winter, spring, autumn. Oh, you guys see it? I do. It's very subtle. So when you find that, it's one tiny little thing. Make sure you fix that. And it might be frustrating, but you can do it. So I'm going to click finish. If you have a question about that, put it in the comments and we can talk about it later. All right. I just don't want to give it away. So we're going to click finish there. Now for the assessment, haikus. This page has several different haikus. Do this. Choose a one haiku and give it a special look by creating a class for its paragraph and heading tags. Use at least 3 CSS properties. By the way, what does BR do? Okay, so we got link, style sheet, head. Which one do you want to do? Graceful bird, deserves better, eat, gift. I'm just going to go to the top one. So example. Oh, how about graceful bird? So graceful bird right here. So we're going to give it a class equals what? Oh, we're going to put it in quotes, bird, unquote. And we're going to do that for every single one of the things that pertains to bird. So I'm going to copy that, Control C, do the same for paragraph, Control V, image, space, Control V. All right, so now we have our classes for we got pixel, picklebee, picklebay. All right, so graceful bird. So now what are we going to do? We go to style.css, go to .bird, give it a squiggle. Okay, what do we want to do? All right, so to speed things up, I went with color black, font family cursive, border solid, text align center, and look what I got. So it looks like my bird turned out okay. You know what? I might even change the pixel with h5 space class equals quote bird unquote, and see if that changed it. Look at that. So it's all there. So the key here, once again, for every single one of the elements, you need to add class equals bird or class equals. You have the image, the h5. The h5 is actually the giving credit where the credit is due. For the paragraph, there br, remember br is a break, and there's no need to give it any text feature or any class. Graceful bird, and then we got to add dot bird or whatever the name is of the class that you give it, and then any of the features, whatever rule set you want. So that is part 6. I challenge you to do more. Do more than just one picture. Okay. Don't just choose one haiku. Choose all of them. Do something different. So that is that for the assessment. I'm going to do finish. So finally, you have 2 more following activities: individual LD IDs, and then free play. Okay, make a web page using the new code, individual IDs. So what I highly recommend is going back to the other things that you've learned and doing this. So you can also use the ID attribute to single out just one element for a rule set. Okay, so ID notes, src. So we just got style sheet. For this, you're going to have all those notes, right? 100 pixels. So just the notes are going to be given a picture. Do this. Look at the element, the image element with the img ID equals notes, src, tag, and notice the ID attribute. In style.css, look at the rule set with the ampersand note selector. Notice how it uses ampersand instead of a period. Add a new image into the page from the available files and give it its own style. So just the notes. Let's do this. Nope, we're not going to change that. So go ahead and do that. And then once you're done, you can go back to the free play and make your own web page doing that. So this would be this is free play, so you can play around with that. All right, that's lesson 17, CSS. Remember to add your classes. Make sure you put them where they're supposed to go, inside each of the elements, as in right here, inside each of the elements. So you have, remember I chose April, so I got to go down to April. Class equals in the H2, class equals in the paragraph, and then that's that. So if you hung on long enough, you will know now that you can go to debug, the autumn one, and you'll learn that you watch this long enough, you will get the secret. So autumn in your style sheet, autumn should be MN, not NM. Let's look down here at the bottom. Bottom is autumn, and we got red. That's all we had to do, change the M and the N. So that's lesson 17. Hopefully you do the challenge on your own. Make sure you do the assessment. And thank you for joining me today. This is a long, arduous lesson, but you can do it. You can definitely do this. Sometimes it just takes help. So if you don't remember anything, go back and look. Also, don't forget to use these questions as a resource as well. I never went over why a web developer would use classes. Maybe you should check that out. A web developer uses classes when some elements should be styled differently than others. If you want to make variety in your website. So there you go. There you have it. Thanks. We'll see you next time at lesson 18. Or maybe you'll go back and look at something else.